Hey, catechists and volunteers. Our next session is on the sacrament of baptism. And this is kind of the first of a series where we're just going to plod through all 7 sacraments. It's not going to take us 7 sessions to do that, but we're going to hit all 7 sacraments in these next handful of sessions. And of course, it makes sense to start with baptism because it's the gateway to all the other sacraments. It's the foundation of the sacramental life. It's important for us to recognize baptism does something on a metaphysical level that alters our very being. Right? Theologically, we call this the sacramental character that is imparted by the sacrament of baptism. Something changes in a baptized person that can never be repeated and can never be undone. Even if, God forbid, a baptized person is to commit apostasy, right, and renounce the faith formally and all that sort of, they cannot change the mark on their soul that shows they were claimed for Jesus Christ and that he lived inside of them at some point. That's what happens at baptism. That is what is so fundamentally important about this thing. That's why we talk about it's a new life, right, and a spiritual recreation, if you will, because of that fundamental change to us. We become God's children, so we're not just natural beings anymore. We have a supernatural fatherhood, right? Or we're children of a supernatural father, right? So something changes, something drastic, in fact, changes in the sacrament of baptism. And so it's an awesome, awesome sacrament to kick off the new calendar year by talking about. So what are we doing in this session? First of all, we're sending every kiddo home with a little bottle of holy water. Every time we use holy water, when we walk into a church, when we use it at home, when we're blessed with it, it's to remind us of this fundamental thing that happened when we were baptized, whether that was yesterday as an adult or years ago as a baby. And so we don't have these full holy water, so you're going to want to make sure the kids know where in the church they can find that holy water font. Could be a good excuse to go over to the church and fill them up as a class, or it could be a good excuse to get the kids excited to go fill them up and then have their parents take them over to the church, right? Might get the whole family into church there just to fill up these bottles of water. And the idea is not to just take this home and set it on their nightstand, although that would be fantastic as well, but to use it, right? Sprinkle it around their room, bless themselves with it, all that sort of stuff. We're around the Feast of the Epiphany, which is a traditional time to bless homes. And so even if they don't get a priest or a deacon to come to their house, they can go give a lay blessing to their own home, or at least their own bedroom, with their own bottle of holy water. So we're at least giving them the bottle with which they could fill holy water and take it home. Right? So they all get that. In kindergarten and first grade, we have a baptism coloring page. They're going to color a picture of a baby being baptized. And again, the act of coloring that page is going to help them focus on what happens in baptism. They're at least going to see a baby having water poured over its head in a church with a baptismal font. All that imagery is getting stuck in their brains, and then you're going to unpack that as you're teaching about the sacrament of baptism. We're going to suggest that you baptize a baby doll in your classrooms. So they go through a little bit of the baptismal ritual. They've colored the picture. You've talked about it a little bit. You've read about baptism in the Bible, and now they're going to see what this would actually look like. They could take turns holding the baby, take turns baptizing it, take turns being the priest, all that sort of stuff. We'll give you a script for this. You could just read it yourself. You could do a call and response if you want the kiddo to be the baptizing agent, if you will. And then we're going to give you a storybook, a book that's called Water Come Down, about the day you were baptized, right? And so it's a kid's book. We're going to have several copies of the same book at both St. Ferdinand and Holy Redeemer. And it's a nice book to just kind of sit down and read to the kids. Again, reinforcing, they just colored this thing. They acted it out. They've heard you talk about it. Now they're reading a story about it. All this imagery is going to get embedded in their minds, right? So that's kindergarten, first grade. Second grade, similar thing, baptizing baby doll. From second grade up, we're going to give you a script for kind of a formal renewal of baptismal promises. Because anyone below the age of reason, their parents' assent stands in for their own assent of faith for baptism. Once you hit the age of reason, you can attest to these things on your own. And it's a good thing to do that, right? So we'll give you a script. The script is going to say, we're going to suggest, invite the kids to stand up, make it a little bit of a formal thing. And it's that question and answer thing that you'll sometimes hear at Mass, certainly during the Easter season, right? Do you renounce Satan? I do. And all of his empty works? I do. Do you believe in God the Father Almighty? I do. So we'll give you the script for that. Also in second grade up, we're going to ask each of your classes if you can make some baptismal cards. These are cards that we are going to put in little congratulations packets to give to families who have a child baptized at any one of our 3 churches within Divine Grace Parish. We don't just want to set you loose on that, though, so we're going to give you printouts of suggestions of things you could write, some phrases, right? So, welcome to God's family, welcome to Catholic Church, welcome to our parish, congratulations, a few others. This way they kind of have an idea of what to put, and they're also not constantly badgering you for how do you spell church, or how do you spell baptism, right? They'll have it printed in front of them. We'll also give you a couple pages of things you could draw, some simple images of things that they could draw on these cards. They're free to draw other things. They can, I don't think we have a heart on here. They can draw hearts. They can write some other phrase than what we have written down on here, but we want to give them something to work with, so that these are cards that we can actually use. And again, this is reinforcing in their minds. If I'm writing, welcome to God's church, congratulations on your baptism, that means baptism is associated with being part of God's church, right? So it's helping to reinforce this in their minds. So that's baptism cards from second grade up. And in second grade, since first confession is coming later this month, we're also going to give you those scripts to role play confession. If you need to set aside baptism and just focus on confession, that is perfectly okay. I'd recommend doing something about baptism, but confession is kind of a remittal of sins after baptism, so they are related. You could tie it in, right? All right, so third grade, we're going to give you an activity that's called baptism symbols and gestures. It's one of these sorting manipulative things. We've used these a couple of times throughout the year. There are several, I want to say it's like 9 or 10 different things from baptism, where we'll give you a picture of the thing, we'll give you the name of the thing, and we'll give you a description of the thing. All right, and so the idea is for them to line up that candle. That sure looks like the baptismal candle, and the baptismal candle just might be the sign of the risen, sign of the light of the risen Jesus. Right. So those 3 things, you can stack them, line them up, whatever makes the most sense. Several different sets of those, but the idea is for them in a group to kind of sort them through. And it's okay to do this even before you teach the lesson. You can do it as an intro to the lesson and kind of get their wheels turning about, I wonder what the candle thing was about, or why is there a white garment? I don't remember there being a bib, right? All that kind of stuff. Or you can do it as a review after you've taught the lesson. Now that we've talked a bit about this, let's sort these out there. It's okay if you haven't taught every one of these things. That's kind of part of the methodology, is they might just be able to figure it out on their own by reasonable deduction. And sometimes the process of going through the angst of, we didn't talk about this, I don't know what it is, but it must be this one, is going to help them remember it better. So we've got that in third grade. We've also got your renewal of baptismal promises and the baptism cards in third grade. In fourth grade, we've got an activity that's baptism true or false, which is just a series of 9 statements about baptism. Some of them are true, some of them are false. We'll give you the answer key so you don't have to wonder, because not all these are super obvious, right? And similar to that last activity, you can do this as an intro to your lesson. You can do it as a summary of your lesson. You can do it as a break in the middle of your lesson. It's okay if you haven't directly addressed that statement yet, or if you never get to it that session. Again, that process of trying to figure it out is good for them developmentally and pedagogically. In fourth grade, we'll also give you the renewal of baptismal promises and the baptism cards activity. In fifth grade, we've got a Bible scavenger hunt. We've been using those all year. You kind of know what those are. We also have the baptism true and false, the renewal of baptismal promises, and the baptism cards. And in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, those same activities as well. Baptism, Bible scavenger hunt, baptism true and false, renewal of baptismal promises, and the baptism cards. So there's our baptism session. Hope you enjoy it.